Welcome to another exciting episode of the Life at Ahead podcast. Today we're delving into the captivating world of athletes who have successfully bridged the gap from sports arenas to office spaces. We'll hear firsthand accounts from former college and Olympic athletes who share their incredible journeys, notable achievements, and how they apply the skills and values cultivated during their athletic careers to excel in their professional lives. Our guests today include Kira, who played soccer for Loyola University, Flavia, who swam for the Swiss Olympic team, Urvashi, who played basketball at Delhi University, Rafe, who played football at Yale, and Nikhil, who is the captain of his intramural cricket team. Whether you're an athlete looking to make the transition or simply seeking inspiration to excel in your professional life, this episode is packed with stories that will surprise and motivate you. Get ready to be inspired by the incredible journeys of these athletes as we explore the fascinating intersection of athletics and the office. Let's get started. Welcome, listeners. I have Kira Murray with me today. Super excited to have her on the podcast. Kira, we've been working together forever, not really forever, but for your entire career at Ahead. I'm excited to hear about your athletic career and get the opportunity to tell your story on this podcast today. But before we begin, can you give a little introduction on yourself?
Of course. Thanks for having me, Nick. Happy to be here. My name's Kira Murray. I have been at Ahead for a little over 6 years now. A few different positions within the marketing team over the years, of course, but I'm currently the manager of AWS Solutions Marketing, so a new role for me. I'm based in the Chicago office, and yeah.
Just to add a little more color to that, Kira crushes anything she sets her mind to, and I'm sure we're going to go over that in some of her athletic journey in her life. And so to get things started, I mean, I'm looking at your shoes. You got the Sambas on. I know you play D1 soccer. I know you're super competitive. Gaelic football. You definitely, I'm going to guess, hate losing more than you love winning.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah. So super excited to kind of hear more about background on what sports you played and, what drove you to play those sports.
Yeah, so you mentioned both of my major sports. I grew up playing very competitive, so obviously soccer, basketball, anything, any team sport with a ball, and now currently play Gaelic football as well.
And I know you were a D1 athlete, Loyola?
Yes, I played soccer at Loyola Chicago. You probably know us from our 2018 Final Four appearance or from everybody's favorite nun, Sister Jean. Based in Chicago here. I actually was a walk-on my junior year of college, so played soccer competitively in high school. Always knew I wanted to go to Loyola. I was the youngest of 4 kids to go there. Was in talks with the coach, wasn't sure if there was going to be a spot for me on the team, but didn't end up playing my freshman year or sophomore year, but decided to go to Loyola anyways. And then junior year rolled around and I decided to walk onto the soccer team.
Man, what was that like? That's got to take some guts.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting not playing soccer for 2 full years and then trying to pick it back up again. So it was hard. I definitely had, a bit of a chip on my shoulder, which gave me a little bit of an edge, I'd say. Definitely hard to hop back into it after taking a break, but having that extra, will to get on the team and make a name for myself really helped me.
Yeah, and I know you definitely got the school pride. I didn't know this, but yeah, here we go, Ramblers. Is definitely a catchphrase around the office. I didn't go to Loyola. I don't have that much school pride, but that's definitely a rallying cry for me. Anytime I need to get some stuff going, it's here we go, Ramblers.
Yep, got to amp up the team.
What position did you play on the soccer team?
So coming in after, not playing for a bit, I was a utility player. I was, that you kind of have to take that role as it, put me in, coach. I got fresh legs anywhere you need me. So that definitely helped out. I've always been more of a versatile player, played all sorts from outside back to center mid most of my collegiate career, I was playing up top in the forward lines.
Not surprised, versatile, driven, hungry. If I knew I ever needed someone for something, whatever it was, I could probably count on you to get it done, no doubt. I'm curious, can you share a particularly memorable moment that left a lasting impact on you?
Sure. There's definitely a lot throughout, the 2 years I was at Loyola. The best, most memorable moment was probably my junior year. We were in the semifinals of our conference tournament. We were in the Missouri Valley Conference at the time. Now Loyola's in the A10. It was the semifinal game. We were tied with Drake, and with a couple minutes left, I scored the game-winning goal to send us to the conference final, which was obviously an unbelievable moment after all, it was my first year back playing soccer. It kind of everything came to fruition. It was just that culmination of this is why I did it. All the hard work was worth it.
Yeah, here we go, Ramblers. I mean, you walk onto the team, driven, versatile player. Wherever the team needs you, you get put in, and guess what they needed? A goal. And you scored it. That's fantastic. What did that feel like?
I mean, it was a bit of a blur, a rambler. It was amazing. I was, after being kind of that utility player, I was just the person hyping people up, getting the energy going, reminding people, when you're a walk-on, you don't have soccer for 2 years. It's not a part of your life. And all of these girls never stopped playing. So I was really that person to kind of remind people, like, oh, this is why you love it. This is, you're playing because you love the game, not because, it's paying for school, or, you're just staying in shape. So that was kind of my role, that, the first half of the season was just reminding the team why we love soccer, why we played it, keeping everything fun. And then it was, finally my time to prove, why I was really on the team in terms of performance, because, you can put in all the hard work and get the minutes, but it always feels better to cap it off with a goal and get some stats. So
absolutely. I mean, just getting a little bit of the chills here, listening to this, and just kind of, I know how driven you are, but hearing this story and your passion and your why, it's amazing. So scored the goal, walk-on team member. How did that experience shape your perspective on life beyond athletics?
Outside of athletics, it helps managing your workload and, communication. But I think above all, you are working with a group of people for a goal that's bigger than yourself. It's not just your day-to-day tasks. It's kind of a united front. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And, I see that coming to life when your new role, right? When you're focused on the AWS SCA, when we saw the slides and the presentation internally from our team, you see all the people who are on there who have to work together and collaborate on this in very different roles. And so I definitely see that coming to life in your career.
Absolutely.
So obviously graduated. You're now currently working. You're not on the Ramblers team currently, obviously a big fan, but I'm curious, what are you doing to keep the passion alive now? What sports are you involved in?
Once I kind of hung up the cleats, it didn't take long to kind of get back into things. I am involved in a local Chicago club called the Chicago Aaron Rovers. We're a Gaelic football team. So for those of you who haven't seen it, it's a pretty cool sport. I would definitely give it a quick Google and watch that first video that pops up. You'll be kind of blown away by the mix of sports it looks like are being played. We have a huge Chicago Irish American Heritage Club on the south side called Gaelic Park. I actually got married there 2 weeks ago, but that's where we host all of our games, usually Sundays during the summers.
That's awesome. And what was that transition into playing Gaelic football like?
Yeah, so I kind of grew up around it. My dad and his brothers started a Gaelic football team in Detroit. My grandpa was a huge proponent of Irish culture in the city of Detroit. My husband now, his family grew up playing in Cleveland, and that's how our parents kind of knew each other. So that's just a cute little anecdote. But so I grew up around it, watching my dad play. Obviously, with high school and college sports, never really played throughout those years. But once graduating, my sister and I were kind of getting the itch to get back involved in it, and my brother as well. So we decided to join one of the clubs, and it's just been a blast since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And obviously, congratulations on getting married.
Thank you.
Very cool to kind of involve another passion of yours in your wedding, and I think that's really neat. So, do you have any impactful moments that you want to share from your experiences on the Gaelic football team?
Yeah, I mean, Gaelic football is definitely an interesting sport. There's a couple clubs here in Chicago, but we play with with or against different teams from all over North America. One of the best moments last year, there's probably, I don't know, 7 different divisions. So we were the intermediate division, which is just under senior, which is the highest. And we won the North American championships for the intermediate division last year, which brought us up to the highest division for North America, or USGAA. And that was just a pretty awesome moment. And anytime you get to share the field with, someone you love, and my sister and I kind of being able to play every game together is just something that's really cool. We played soccer together in high school. She's 2 years older than me, and then she was running track. I was playing soccer in college. But it's anytime we get to play with each other, it is just an awesome experience. So.
Yeah, definitely. I love how you're able to almost like seamlessly mix family and passion and heritage and everything all together, and it's just really amazing to see and hear about.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm curious, like between Gaelic football and being a Rambler, what skills or rituals do you leverage from your athletics in your day-to-day?
So obviously there's a lot of skills or rituals that out from athletics that tie into day-to-day life. But one thing I think, I had mentioned before, kind of being a hype person and making sure people were having fun. And I think that that's something that I still try to do with, my team at work or just in life, is just, things obviously bringing that intensity, but in a fun way, and just kind of keeping everybody positive when working towards that common goal.
100p. I actually was joking. I believe I used to joke with you all the time that I wanted a Kira Murray soundboard for any time you weren't around and I needed to get myself hyped up, whether it was here we go Ramblers with some hand claps, or 100p, or whatever any of your catchphrases were. I think I can definitely picture you being that person in athletics, because I get to experience that in the office with you. And I'll say it now, super grateful for you. I mean, there's been times where you just need to get jazzed up, and it's like, hey, just go swing by Kira's desk. Don't worry, something will happen. She'll get you hyped up. So totally agree with that.
Here we go, Ramblers.
Yes, exactly. All right, last question for you. Not sure if you have anything you want to share, but any parting words of wisdom for our audience?
I don't have too much wisdom to offer, but I will say just keep working hard at things you're passionate about, but don't forget to have some fun.
Perfect advice. I think everyone can take to heart there. You're getting passionate about something, keep at it. Make sure you're having fun. Kira, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I learned so much, and appreciate you sharing your story.
Nick, thanks so much for having me.
Folks, I've got Flavia Rigamonti here with me today, joining us on the podcast. Super excited to hear your story today, Flavia. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, super excited. We were talking before the call that you've only worked at Ahead for 4 years. It feels like we've been working together for way longer than that.
Absolutely. It feels more like 6 to 10, but
6 to 10. Yes, exactly. I've actually put in 8 years, and yes, I can say that it felt like you were there for most of it. For our viewers who don't know you, though, can you do a quick introduction?
Yeah, my name is Flavia Rigamonti. I am the VP of Services Strategy and Operations. I report to Tony Coffee, and I support the TSS organization.
That's awesome. I'm going to throw you a quick curveball. It's not on our list, but what do you think is your favorite part about your role?
Oh, man, how cheesy do we want to get? I actually feel like I can truly make an impact on the business. I have full leadership confidence and support to actually make a change. When I provide recommendations, my leadership listens to me, and sometimes they turn it down, sometimes they don't. And also, I have to say, I have the best team. I know everybody says that, but I really do. I think that I'm able to get things done mostly because my team is able to get things done, and they're awesome. We're a very tightly knit group. We're about 30-ish people, and it's been a great experience.
Shout out to your team for sure. And I know the feeling. When I was my previous role at Ahead, I was a people leader, and a lot of the times I would get asked, how could I get so much done? Especially when I was doing a lot of the, voluntary tasks and workload. And I always pointed back to my team. It's because they are doing such a great job and they're getting it done that I'm able to be doing what I'm doing at the level I'm doing it at. So shout out to your team. That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about your sports history and background, but can you provide a background on your athletic career and maybe any notable achievements along the way?
Sure. So I'm going to go way back. I started swimming when I was about 8. So I grew up in Switzerland, and I did high school in Switzerland. And then I came to the US when I was about 20 on a swimming scholarship. I went to school at SMU in Dallas, Texas. And I retired in 2008 after the Beijing Olympics. So I've been to 3 Olympics, Sydney, 2000, Athens, 2004, and Beijing in 2008. I think that my most notable one was the 2008 Olympics, where I was 4th in the 800 freestyle. It's an 8-minute and 20-second and change race, and I was 4th by 1 second. So, yeah, that hurt. I feel like I had my best achievements at World Championships. I have 3 silver medals. I got the European record in 2008, which I no longer hold. I won various European titles, and I have 5 NCAA titles as individual.
Wow. I'm like, holy cow. I don't think a lot of people at Ahead know that they're talking to an Olympic swimmer and someone who's so decorated as you are. That's amazing.
I try to keep that cat in the bag. Usually Haitham pulls it out.
Well, I'm pulling it out today on the podcast. People are going to know.
Yeah, it's just, it feels, we were talking about being in Ahead 4 years. It feels like a long time. Well, this was a long time ago. So it's like my first career after teaching swimming lessons.
Yeah, exactly. So, started swimming when you're a kid, got on a scholarship, recognized on the world champion level. Man, that 4th place sounds tough. I'm sure we're going to get into that a little bit, but I'm curious how your experiences as a swimmer has shaped, how did that shape your identity at the time?
I mean, call me the typical ops person, but being in the spotlight is not something that comes natural to me. It's not something I crave. I don't like it. I like to operate in the shadows. But I mean, swimming, you're there. It's just you in front, a ton of people. So there's really no hiding. And especially being an individual sport, you got relays, but you're still in there by yourself. And so I really had to learn to put my game face on, hide how nervous I was, and, just being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I think that was probably one of the biggest ways that swimming shaped me as a person.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's game time. Doesn't matter how you're feeling or whatever, but when you get up on the block, it's time to go.
Yeah.
I know you kind of hit on some of this a little bit, your 4th place and you being at 3 Olympics, but can you share a particularly memorable moment that left a lasting impact on you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's goods and bads, starting with, let's say, the goods. So in 2007 World Championships in Melbourne, I got 2nd, but that's where I broke the European record as first European woman to swim 1,500 meters under 16 minutes.
Let's go.
It was actually a crazy race because I was way behind at a halfway mark. And then I really just started chewing up that variance or that difference. And I was almost at the same level as the first person's feet by the end of the race. So it was rough. And I didn't even realize because I was in the outside lanes. So I touched, I finished, I saw I was 2nd, and I saw I was European record. I just lost my mind. So that was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a worse one is incidentally the 2000 Olympics. And, obviously getting 4th by less than a second stung for sure. And I was 19 at the time.
Yeah.
And I came out of the pool and my two coaches, Swiss coaches, were right there and they're like dripping with disappointment. And one of them was like, "Oh my God, your turns were too slow." And the other one made some like awful comment. And I was like, "What did you just say?" Like first thing that came out of their mouth. And then to walk out, you have to walk through this like media zone.
Ooh.
And the Swiss journalists were there. And one of them was like, first question that fell out of their mouth was, "Are you disappointed?" And I'm like, I mean, now that you all are telling me that, like maybe I should be, like, I don't know. And just dealing with public opinion after that. I mean, Switzerland, yeah, we're not that big, but we can be mean. So yeah, it was definitely hard. That's where I realized that no matter how good or how well you swim in a race, what kind of medal you get, somebody's always going to expect more from you. And you can't win golds and break world records every time. So somebody's always going to be disappointed. And so I think that's where I learned that I got to do it for me, not for others. And I have to be okay with that. And I think that's where I also learned that swimming wasn't going to be it for me. And I wanted to be more than known to be Flavia the swimmer. And that's where I knew that at some point swimming was going to be it. And I wanted to move on and find something else.
Yeah. And so when you were moving on and finding your next thing, I'm curious, like kind of what like skills or rituals or things that you learned from your swimming career, how did that apply to your adaptation to the next thing?
Ooh, for a while it was pretty hard. Actually, a lot of athletes, once they retire, they have a very hard time, especially elite athletes. And you see a lot of them that kind of still linger within the sport because it's very hard to move from being at a peak with notable notoriety and recognition to being nobody in something very different.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people have like never really move on and I think I was fairly conscious of that and just made it a point like, you know what, we're starting from zero, starting from the bottom, let's move on. And I feel like I just kind of had to resort to, just getting it done and knowing where I stood and putting the work. I think that's something I learned from swimming for sure is you got to put in the work. No, you can have talent, but talent can only carry you so far. And I took the discipline that I learned from swimming and perseverance and back at it.
Yeah. And it sounds like, anytime you might get a no or a rejection in something, maybe you look back to to your time in the Olympics and you're like, well, at least I'm not going through a media zone after I submitted that project request or something.
Well, I mean, kind of.
No, I really like the discipline and the training that you're talking about, right? You need to have that. Your talent can only get you so far. But you got to put in the hard work. A lot of the gym culture that I see either on social media or kind of people experiencing when I'm at the gym, one of the recurring messages I see a lot is like, doesn't matter, get in, pay your dues. Like today's a day, you need to get in there, you need to work. And part of that messaging too is that like, you don't always have 100%. Like you're not like, if you're always at 100%, please call me, tell me your secret. I'd love to know that, how you can do that. But sometimes you only have 40% to give or 60% to give, but you still show up and you give that 40 or you give that 60%. Yeah. And then you gave 100% of what you had to give sort of thing. So it's like coming in and putting in the effort and putting in the work always matters. And so,
yeah. And I think that in a company like Ahead, that goes a long way because I know we always talk about the culture, but that's really it. You know that when you have your team, but also your coworkers, your leaders, like people you can rely on, you know that maybe one day you're at 40%, but you can rely on somebody else to help you out and pick up the pieces. And together we can figure it out. We can figure out that 100%. I don't always have to be at 100. Somebody else will help me. And I will do the same for somebody else. And I think that's why I love my team, but I love working at Ahead. I always know that if something is not right, I know I can rely on somebody else. But I think that you earn that right by showing up, like you said, and putting in your dues and showing that you're willing to do the hard work to earn somebody else's willingness to help you out when you are at that 40%.
Yeah, and this is touching it like it. What I've found so interesting about this podcast is as I continue to talk to more people and hear more stories, there's so much overlap. So in my most recent, not my most recent, I don't know when this is actually going to get published. In one of my recent episodes, Living Our Values, Ben Montgomery talks about the importance of empathy in building relationships, and that you don't actually have if you're always asking someone for something and you're never giving anything, that's not a relationship, and that you need to put in the time and put in the effort and build a relationship with someone, and it's a two-way street. And the other thing that I'm also picking up on is I believe it was in our culture of belonging episode I touched on this, but like that's that teamwork mentality and that drive that we have here at Ahead that's so infectious. And when I was on leading my previous team, it's the kind of thing that we would embody all the time. It's like you just got 100 slide deck that you need to turn around in 30 minutes. Like it's almost impossible by yourself, but as a team, okay, who can jump in? How do we divide and conquer? Okay, you got the first 30, you got the second 30, you got the third, like the last 30 or whatever it is. And when you finish one of those parts, you jump into the other thing. And so while someone might not be able to get it done themselves, everyone's willing to roll up their sleeves, jump in and make it happen for each other. And you only do that by like being able to do it yourself first, and then like building that trust and that relationship with folks. And it's kind of like a trust fall sort of thing where you're like, all right, like I know my teams can catch me here. And it means a lot.
Yeah. Well said.
Thanks. I'm usually trying to get other people to talk. Now I'm going on my own tangents here. Is there anything specific that you want to share about your swimming career that you think is really relevant to today?
I actually think while you were asking me that, I was thinking defiance probably. I've always been one of those people, my parents, my coaches, with anyone that has had doubt in my ability to deliver on swimming results, deliverables, whatever it is. I've always been like in the back of my head, you just wait. I will prove you so wrong, and I will give you the biggest fat I told you so, which I never really do, but I take an opportunity where somebody is doubting me to some extent. I take it as a challenge for myself. I'm like, all right, I see you, and I'll see you back here once I have accomplished whatever you think that I can't accomplish.
Yeah, that can always be a really great motivator. I don't know. I also get kind of fueled by that as well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that has been a constant. Recently married, my dad even put in his speech at the wedding that I've always been defiant like that, and sometimes to a fault. But I feel like I see that in myself today. When somebody said like, "You're not ready for that," I was like, "You just wait." And I think it's like it's good driving energy when I try to keep it non-toxic, especially for myself, and not get too obsessed. But it's definitely one of those things that swimming taught me, because I've had more than one, we call them wood medals, where you get fourth. Like I had more than one. Once I got fourth in a race at European Championships by 400ths of a second. We're talking about like 8 minute plus here. And you can totally see me cursing on the big screen because they showed the arrival. You see my face and me cursing. I was like, you just see. And then 2 weeks later, like I broke Swiss record. Different race, obviously. I think all these things are all those disappointments that turn into like, you just wait and see. And it's like, it's a hard work and putting in your dues and relying on your team and come back and do a big comeback. Plenty of those stories.
Yeah. I mean, even, like you said, the record, you were way behind until like halfway into the race, and then you made up for it and broke that record, got second, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think it's always good to be challenged, sort of thing, or like, I don't know, it just kind of gives you that target to hit and a motivation to go hit it, sort of thing. And so like I think that's why non-toxic defiance can be very powerful, because it's like an all-in-one package. I don't need another emotion or another thing to do it. It's already been like, oh, you already told me what my limit is and that I can't do it. Now I'm motivated to go break that, and time to put in the work, because I can have the talent, but unless if I'm gonna have the drive to do it, it's not gonna happen.
No.
Awesome. Flavia, that was amazing. Last thing for you here. Any parting words of wisdom for our audience?
Ooh, so that's a tough question because there's a lot of parting words. I think that I would say, based on what we talked about, I would say always be yourself, always be your best self, show up for yourself, for your team. And I think that outcomes come out of it. And then I think for me is, do the things because you want to do them, because they motivate and enhance who you are, not because somebody else is expecting you to. I mean, we all have goals. I mean, we have literally financial goals, but ultimately we show up to for ourselves and for others. So staying true to yourself and do what you truly want to do. It's what's going to drive the better outcome for yourself and for your team. If you're seeking approval from somebody else, it's always going to be chasing waterfalls.
Yeah, I'm technically living on someone else's terms instead of your own. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, well said.
One last fun question that I kind of want to get into, but I'm like testing the water here. I kind of want to hear about what it was like being an athlete in the Olympic Village.
It is exceptionally stressful. You're surrounded by thousands of athletes that have been working their butt off for 4 years for their seconds to minutes of a race. And everything comes down to that. So everybody is super, super stressed. Then after the race, it's a different story.
I think we could leave it at that.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, literally, Flavia, thank you so much for hopping on this podcast. It was fun getting to hear more about this, and have a great rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, thank you. You as well.
Howdy, folks. I've got Urvashi from our India region on the podcast today. Welcome, Urvashi.
Hey, Nick. Thanks for having me on the podcast today. I am Urvashi, the Senior Marketing Manager at Ahead in India.
Very cool. Tell me a little bit about your role.
I'm a results-driven growth marketer with about 10 years of global experience in leading transformational campaigns, brand development, and data-driven content strategies. I'm also an expert in media and PR, wherein I have a strong track record of boosting revenue and profitability for high-growth businesses.
That's awesome. I've been seeing a lot of the work that you're doing over in our new geo, the new office, the testimonials, everything else coming out of there. Super impressed, and kudos to you and the team.
Yes, thanks. It's been quite a journey. Yes.
So I understand that you have some athletic background or some athletic experience. Could you provide some background on, how you keep active or what sports you've played?
Certainly. So, my athletic journey began back in school, where I dedicated a significant portion of my time to basketball and swimming. I was fortunate enough to be a part of some highly competitive teams, and we even won a few regional championships.
That's awesome. I played a lot of Park District basketball growing up. My dad was a coach. As kids, we were always out there in the driveway shooting free throws until dinner time, making sure that we had the fundamentals down. And then, you said swim team, and I was actually on the dive team when I was very young. I got scared. Yeah, I got scared out of it just because one flip was good, but once they started asking for 1.5 or 2 or backwards, I started getting really nervous, and it didn't become fun for me anymore. But I love swimming.
It can get a bit stressful if you really don't enjoy it. So
yeah. What drove you to play those sports, and are you still active today?
Yes, I'm still active today. So sports played a very important role in the school and college I went to. So most of my friends were athletes. So I think it started quite early on.
Yeah, when you're talking about school, in college, did you play for a college team?
I did. Yes, I did. I played for the college team as well.
Gotcha. What sport was that for the college team?
That was basketball.
Can you share a particularly memorable moment that left a lasting impact on you?
I think one of the most memorable moments for me was during a crucial basketball match. You know, we were trading behind, and it seemed like all odds were against us. But in that moment, our team rallied together, each player giving their absolute best. Miraculously, we turned the game around, and emerged victorious. I think that's one game that taught me the power of resilience and collective effort. Beyond sports, it showed me that even in the most challenging situations, with determination and teamwork, we can overcome obstacles.
100%. I like to play some intramurals. I'm also gonna add esports to this. I enjoy playing video games. And there's a sort of difference between like when you're winning by a lot and there's that kind of scenario, but when you're behind and you have to work really hard to get to that win, like
Yeah.
it feels better. I don't know about you.
It does, and I think it's that when when the team really rallies and you all come together because you have like one common goal, right, which is to just win the game.
Yeah, I love that. What skills or rituals do you leverage in your day to day from your athletics?
I think most of these experiences, like I said, have taught me the value of teamwork and discipline. They've also played a pivotal role in shaping my identity, instilling in me a sense of determination, a never give up attitude that I carry with me to this day. And like I said, I was also fortunate enough to be a part of some of the highly competitive teams, and we even won a few regional championships. So that sort of instilled a lot of these skills in me early on.
Yeah, definitely. The teamwork, the rallying behind a common goal. I think there's a lot of lessons in athletics and sports that can apply to, the workplace and just life in general, right? You learn how to problem solve fast because it's not when they're dribbling the ball up the court, you're not going to say, "Hey, timeout. Let me think about how to play defense here." You have to make
Yes.
moment by moment decisions, and it encourages like fast critical thinking.
Yeah, so I think it's the discipline and time management skills as well that I honed as an athlete that have been invaluable in my professional life. So setting and achieving goals is one, being accountable for my actions and maintaining a strong work ethic are all attributes I attribute to my athletic background. However, I did have to adapt my competitive nature to a more collaborative environment. You know how it is in the corporate world. It's not just about personal victories but about achieving collective success. So learning to leverage the strengths of a team has been a crucial shift for me.
Awesome. What are the sports you're participating in now?
Yeah, so in my earlier years, I was deeply involved in sports, like I said, primarily basketball and swimming. Now my passion lies in fitness, which includes hitting the gym, going for runs, engaging in various workouts, and enjoying sports like golf and lawn tennis.
I like to work out myself. I've actually kind of been on a fitness journey this year, and it's been so refreshing. Like, I walk out of there and I feel so much better. My mind's so much clearer. I am so much more prepared for the day. Like, I know the days that I work out, I'm way more productive the rest of the day. The days I don't, I'm usually kind of lagging. Now, you need rest, but I can tell the difference.
Absolutely. And the best part is that 1 hour or hour and a half in the gym, you're completely off your phone. It's just no screen, no digital time, which is something I really like. You're in the moment, you're doing what you're doing, and you're giving it your 100%.
Awesome, Ravashi. Well, any parting words of wisdom for our audience?
Absolutely. I'd like to share that the lessons we learn in sports extend far behind the field or the pool. The values of discipline, teamwork, and resilience are universal and are highly applicable in any professional setting. So embrace challenges, guys, work hard, and always remember that success is a journey, not a destination. And most importantly, never underestimate the power of a supportive team in achieving greatness.
I love that success is a journey, not a destination. I'm gonna keep that one. I'm putting that one in the pocket. That is incredible.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Urvanshi, thank you for joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Nick.
Welcome back, listeners. I have Rafe Chappell with me here today. Rafe, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. You and I got to talk a little bit before we started recording, but for the folks listening at home who don't know who you are, do you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your role?
Absolutely. So Rafe Chappell here. I am the Cisco Alignment Director, which is, I guess, is a fancy way of saying I manage the Cisco relationship between Ahead and Cisco. Started my career at Cisco as a sales rep, spent 6 years there, and then I just celebrated my 1-year anniversary here at Ahead. So it's been a great year.
Let's get started with some of the questions. So can you provide some background on, your athletic career and any notable achievements?
Absolutely. So I played at Yale from 2014 to 2017, graduated in 18. But come from a long line of football players. So I'm the youngest of 4 boys, and we are all about 2 years apart. The oldest played at Georgia Southern, was a quarterback there. And then second oldest played at Harvard, played quarterback there. The third played at UGA, actually played tight end. He got the good genes in the family. He was like 5', 250. The rest of us are,
dang.
5'11" and, maybe 200 soaking wet. But it was a lot of fun and got to look up to them playing for a long time. And one of the cool things is at my high school, there was, I think, about 12 years in a row where there's no one but a Chappell playing quarterback. And my sophomore year, when my third oldest brother was a senior, he actually hurt his shoulder and couldn't throw anymore. So he moved to tight end, and then I got to play quarterback and throw passes to him, which is like such a cool experience. Man, we did it in the backyard when we were growing up, but you never think you'd do it on a real playing field and, in a competitive environment.
Yeah, so many cool things to touch on here. 12 years, that's amazing. And then also getting to play with your brother. I've got a younger brother. He's 6 years younger than me, so we never had any overlap in school. But it would be really, really cool if him and I got to play, soccer together, because that's the sport we both played a lot. So very awesome.
100%. And like Harvard and Yale is one of the most historic rivalries in all of college football, dating back to the 1800s. So I do wish, it sounds funny. I wish my brother got hurt at Harvard, so then he could have took a redshirt year and we would have gotten to play against each other. That would have been cool. So he was a senior at Harvard when I was a senior in high school. So we just missed out on each other.
Yeah. And then, you probably hear this a lot, like very Manning-esque, right? Like family all played, siblings all played the same position except your brother at tight end.
We like to say we're like the poor man's or the great value brand Manning brothers. No one quite made it to the NFL, and there's a bunch of like smaller schools. But no, I think my parents are definitely a lot prouder than we are of it. But it is cool to have that experience.
Yeah, definitely agree. Any notable achievements? The 12 years of Chappell playing, that's definitely a family achievement, but anything for you personally?
Yeah, so a lot of my career at Yale was riddled by injuries. One of the cool things, though, was I do have a record for my first ever pass at Yale was a touchdown, and it was to a high school teammate of mine, which was really cool. So we had grown up playing football together since we were in second grade. And he was actually committed to Princeton, and then I got him to decommit and come to Yale. And my roommate at the time intercepted the other team and brought it all the way down to like the 10-yard line. So we ran a pass play to my longtime friend and teammate Chris, and first pass, first score. And it was awesome. I unfortunately I peaked then, and it was all downhill from there as I tore up my shoulder a couple quarters later. But
ooh, that's rough. Yeah, I feel like right when you hit your longtime friend, got that pass to him, you catch it, you both had that look in your eyes. You're like, "Yep, told you so."
Yeah, 100%. No, it was a cool moment. Something we'll get to share as a core memory for a long time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious how your experiences, as quarterback, both, in high school and in college, how your experiences shaped your identity during that time.
100%. So I think it's funny when people ask, like, how was Yale? Like, what was it like? And I tell them it's about as hard or as easy as you make it. I mean, if you're a pre-med or you're an engineering track, it is very, very difficult. But there's other tracks to make it a little bit easier on yourself from a student. And I took that track because I just loved the game of football. And I thought it's the biggest teacher. I mean, the game of football is just like life. I mean, you are surrounded by a group of really diverse individuals, all shapes, sizes, ethnicities, different backgrounds, socioeconomic, or living in the country, living in the city. So like that is such a cool experience. And as the quarterback, it's your job to lead this group of, you got guys from inner city Chicago and you got guys from, Orange County, California, but you guys are all on one team and you're going towards a common goal, and they look to the quarterback to lead them that way. So I think like that experience that you get over, I don't know, I think the 16 years that I played football is like, that experience is what I use the most every day at my job here, at a head or with my family back home. There's little times where I use my political science degree in this role with technology at a head.
Yeah, I think sports can be such a great teacher. I think especially what you're talking about with bringing a bunch of different people together, focused on one single goal, right? It's just such a cool idea that's how you can shape becoming a leader. It's also how you can shape like learning how to listen and also learning how to follow too. And I think those are all super valuable skills to have beyond just athletics in life.
100%. I think everyone kind of gets humbled their first year going into a college program. If you're recruited at the college level, that means, you're a top, 3, 4, 5% guy in high school, which means like you are the stud in high school. Then you get to the campus where everyone was, the stud in high school, and it there becomes a new pecking order. And a lot of the time, the first 2 years is like, hey, you're sitting as a second or third string guy, and you have to humble yourself, work, learn, and figure out a way to get to the position that you want to be in, which is a very humbling experience for the first couple months, but it also builds a lot of character in the process.
Yeah. And, speaking of the process and learning a lot, can you share a particular memorable moment that left a lasting impact on you?
100%. I think about like the injury I sustained when I was in college. So as I talked about, very humbled the first year I came in. We actually had a quarterback from Clemson transfer in, and he was a stud. Like I think still owns a lot of Yale passing records. And I immediately realized, all right, I'm not as good as he is right now, but it's a good opportunity to learn from it. And then I spent 2 years learning the offense, perfecting my throwing motion, learning how to read a defense, spending time in the weight room, getting bigger, stronger, and faster. And then you worked for that moment. And then you get to that moment and, you're the guy now, you're the starter, you get to play. And then all of a sudden, one bad hit, it gets taken away from you. So then it really you kind of figure out who you are in that moment. You're like, all right, I can have a pity party for myself. Or I can, figure out how I can actually still add value to this team and not just feel sorry for myself.
Yeah. Great question. And how did you take that?
So I did have my pity party for at least a week or two.
I think you're entitled to that.
how it goes. But then I found an immediate role kind of coaching. The guy that was right behind me struggled a lot in those, and we lost a lot of games. But then we had a freshman who was very, very talented, but just didn't know anything because, you come from a high school background where it's like, all right, I take a 3-step drop and just see who's open, kind of backyard football style. College is much more strategic, got to read a defense. So I got to really invest my time and energy into that freshman who, his name is Kurt Rawlings, great guy. He's actually a coach at Notre Dame now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But he was extremely talented and like eager to learn, got to show him how to